Hello and welcome, everyone. I am Lindsay Canchola. I'm the director here at Cimbria of Sales and Marketing. I want to thank you for tuning in to learn more about the benefits of strip packaging. It's our hope to provide you with an open and honest dialogue from an outstanding senior living executive. I have with me today Anthony Columbatto. He's the Vice President of Health Services for John Knox Village, as well as Ryan Cable, who was the Director of Pharmacy here at Cimbria that helped John Knox Village transition to strip packaging. So thank you and welcome both of you.
Thank you.
So I think that where we want to start is if you could tell me just a little bit about your organization, Anthony.
Sure. John Knox Village is located in Lee Summit, Missouri. So we're just about 20 minutes southeast of Kansas City. We are the second largest single site life plan community in the country. And we've been around since 1970. So just a couple of years ago, we celebrated our 50th anniversary, and we serve about 1,000 residents on the independent living side, about 180 in our assisted living and memory care, about 150 in our skilled nursing facility. And then we have our home health and hospice that we serve on average about 500 patients a month there. The other thing that makes us really unique is we have our own ambulance service, which is very rare in our community, but it really helps us do a lot of different things, both for the city of Lee Summit and for our residents here at John Knox Village.
Great. I'm going to start by asking you, Ryan, when did John Knox Village decide to transition from bingo cards, and how long had they been on bingo cards prior to?
John Knox had been on bingo cards for as long as I can remember, and Anthony, I'm sure you'd probably agree. I mean, that had been essentially the standard for the industry was bubble cards. A couple months after, and typically what we target with really any community is within a month or two we transition and we taper down those bubble cards, the supply that they have, and we're really strategic in our approach to dwindle that supply and make the transition a smooth one. But it occurs within a month or two of the initiation of service. So
Okay, yeah, great. So Anthony or Ryan, what was the ultimate deciding factor for John Knox Village to make that transition to strip packaging?
So I think John Knox really saw the value of making the transition to strip. That the primary value was limiting the amount that we were dispensing. So before, when they were using bubble cards, the approach was to dispense in much larger quantities. 14 or 30-day supplies were very common. And when there are medication changes, that resulted in a lot of waste. So from that perspective, dispensing in a smaller quantity was a real ability to limit waste. Also, I think, I know John Knox saw the value of strip packaging and the value that it brought from a staffing perspective. Med passes were much easier with strip packaging compared to bubble cards, and they were able to use fewer staff members to pass the meds than they were previously using bingo cards.
Okay, great. I think it's important to call out, Ryan, you were integral in making this transition and really tried to take on the heavy lifting for John Knox Village. So I feel like you really do know it the best. And I'm sure Anthony can agree based off of, stories about and during the transition. So can you give me some insight on how that transition actually went for them, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually day one is a challenge just because it's very different. I think one of the things that Cimbria really prides itself on is our ability to really to train the team beforehand and have a real presence, especially on that first day, because that's when it's a very big change. And I think in healthcare we all take a lot of comfort from the usual, from our routines and things like that. And this is it's a transition. And so being on site and being supportive and being really open to the feedback that we got, I'm really happy with how the transition went. And now I'm really confident, and I think John or Anthony would agree that I don't think John Knox would switch from strip packaging now that they have made that change. But yeah, we really pride ourselves on educating the team and making them as well prepared as we can be on that transition day.
Anthony, is there any feedback that you would like to add that your team had given you about that transition? Or
Yeah, well, I think, Ryan mentioned a few things, and, I think sometimes we have to take a step back from our jobs, and, some things look really good on paper, but then when we implement them, sometimes we don't always do a good job of asking the nurses and the staff, like, hey, what do you think
yeah,
of this idea, right? And so this is one of those things that just, sometimes we don't include nursing in these big decisions because it makes so much sense on paper. And so this is one of those things that I think started as, oh, this looks really good on paper. As Ryan mentioned, we saw our average daily stays moving down from, 30 to 25 to 20 to 15. And so it made more and more sense to do that. It's one of those things that then when you introduce it to the nursing staff and then they're excited about it because it makes their days and lives easier. But that was a huge win for us.
yeah, absolutely. So the next question we're going to go over is, and this, Anthony, I know you can definitely speak to currently, what are the greatest benefits that your community has experienced from transitioning to strip packaging? And I think you kind of touched on a little bit of it before. So
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard for me to imagine going through what we're going through right now from a staffing perspective on having our nurses and med tech sitting there popping pills out of a bubble pack, and all the time and energy that takes, as well as the opportunity for error, right? I mean, that's huge in our industry. And so especially when you have agency nurses, they don't know the residents, they don't necessarily know all your systems. So having it turnkey right there for them. All they have to do is just cut it out of the strip, give it to the resident. It makes life really, really easy on them. And in the end, at the end of the day, we get a better experience for our residents, which is what we all want.
yeah, absolutely. Ryan, anything that you can add? That I know you work even currently directly with the director of nursing at John Knox Village. Has there been any insight that she may have given you that you feel like are even even greater benefit to the leadership team there or the nursing staff?
Yeah, I'd say, one of the things that that I've really been happy with is that, it's we're always in communication with each other. So we're getting feedback from, whether it's Tammy or, if it's the administrator or the DON, we really try and hear the problems they're facing and come up with a solution for them. And, I think one of the things that really springs in my mind that we were able to accomplish with the team at John Knox was really taking over ownership of their house stock. And previous to Cimbria, John Knox had managed their own house stock, which is really common in the industry. And as a means, really, our approach was to identify an opportunity that we could help. Being the pharmacy, we manage medications and stock, and that's what we do. And so it was an opportunity for us to include those medications that maybe were previously listed as house stock in the strip. And it was an even, it provided even more relief from a staffing perspective, because now staff isn't trying to order from central supply or looking through the cart for bottles and things like that. And so I was really happy with how that transition went, and really the feedback that we got from the leadership there at John Knox about the value that it added.
Great. I think that's something that you don't really necessarily think of when you think of making this transition is the house stock. So
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing to highlight, that has been a benefit for them.
That's also an example of something that Ryan brought to us and said, hey, I think I've got an opportunity to save you all some money. Now, what Ryan didn't know is that like the week before, we had cleaned out some of our central supply and other areas, and we had thrown away probably several $1,000s worth of over-the-counter medications that had expired. So his timing was really, really good. But I appreciate the fact that he was and always continues to come to us with, hey, I think I've got an idea that can help your organization perform better.
Yeah, I feel like that is something that is so true to highlight. Since I've started working at Cimbria and seeing the interaction between you, Anthony, and your team there, and Ryan, it really is a true partnership.
Mhm.
You back and forth both ways. So,
Yep.
all right. So what, given COVID, right? And we are all about giving of advice right now because I feel like senior leadership and senior living is, everybody is really trying to help each other out. So I think this is a good opportunity, Anthony, if you could recommend or give advice to a fellow senior living leader, what should they be looking for in a pharmacy partner?
Yeah, so I think the key word in that is partner, right? I think a lot of times you come across vendors that have, the latest and greatest, or they can cut your costs, or they can do different things, but they're here for the moment, and they're here, to really kind of meet their quota. I would just always encourage people, sometimes the bigger box chains, you will get the best price, but that rarely will guarantee that you're going to get good quality. And one thing I've told Ryan numerous times is, every other organization I've worked for prior to coming here that typically worked with one of those big box chains, um, we would leave work Friday and then we'd come back in Monday morning, and there would be numerous complaints about pain medication, pain management, because the pharmacy wasn't able to get what they needed on time. And so we had residents that would go a day or two or however long without their pain being managed appropriately. And so John Knox Village is the first organization I've ever worked at where I have, in 6 years that I've been here, I have not come into the office one time on a Monday and heard a complaint of pain from the weekend. And that's in large part due to the timeliness of delivery from Cimbria. It's the way that we manage and they manage our stat safe, so we have plenty of supplies and we have the right supplies on hand at the right time. And so, I think that's a huge deal. The other thing is just their availability and their customer service. I will never forget. I think I'd been here about 2 weeks, and we had a very complex patient that we got from the hospital that required an IV that Cimbri did not have. And I remember it was like Saturday night at probably about 8 o'clock at night. And I was on the phone with Cimbria and I said, "Hey, I know you don't have this, but we have to figure out a way to do this." And within an hour, they had contacted one of the health systems, had it ordered, and then that night they had it delivered to our care center. And you don't get that from an Omnicare or PharMerica or any of those organizations. So that's a partner to me.
Yeah, I think too, knowing the relationship that you have with the pharmacy, the Cimbria pharmacy near your community,
Yeah.
the people that work in that pharmacy truly do care about the leadership at John Knox Village, the nursing staff, every one of the staff members there, as well as your residents. And so I think that holds true as to exactly what you said. They go above and beyond because they truly care, and value the work that they put forth.
Yep.
Ryan, is there anything that you can think of that you would like to add if you could give advice? That was great, Anthony, by the way. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think Anthony really hit the nail on the head. I mean, and that's what we're really looking for is we want to partner with communities. We want to. What one thing I love about John Knox is they're so open with sharing challenges that they're facing, so that we can be included in coming up with a solution for them. I touch base with Anthony regularly. It's great. And it can be really quick meetings. Yesterday we
Mm-hmm.
talked for 10 minutes because I think our big things that we had on our list, they're addressed. We're already planning for flu shots, and we always have kind of COVID vaccination clinics in the back of our mind now. But it's so valuable from our side too to know that we're not being held to some ridiculous standard. I think John Knox is well aware that we want to be their partner. We want to do whatever we can to support them. But just being viewed as a partner from John Knox is so huge for us.
Communication is everything, Ryan,
Yeah.
and I think that's really the key here between John Knox Village and Cimbria is communication both ways.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Anthony, thank you so much for your insight and for everything that you and your community does on a daily basis. Cimbria is beyond proud to be a partner for John Knox Village. On the screen, I have provided contact information for Anthony, Ryan, and myself in case you have any specific questions that weren't addressed during this webinar. If your community is currently not on strip packaging or anything in this webinar piques your interest, I highly encourage you to reach out to myself or Ryan so that we can do a no pressure waste calculation and consultation to see how much time and resources Cimbria can save you.